So I am here with David Meerman Scott, who is the author of...
I'm author of The New Rules of Marketing and PR, which is an international bestseller out in 26 languages. My newest book is called Real-Time Marketing and PR. It came out in November of 2010. And I wrote a book called Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead with Brian Halligan, my co-author. Brian's the CEO of HubSpot. So a bunch of different books, all of them about marketing.
So three very rich subject matters here. Let's start, what are the new rules?
Yeah, so, prior to the web, anybody who wanted to get attention could either buy it in the form of advertising or try to get the media to say something or do some form of sales. All of those are still around to us, but now we have another opportunity, which is to create information, put it out online, and earn attention of our fans, earn attention of the people who might want to do business with us. And the way to be successful with that approach is quite different than the ways that we were able to use to be successful around buying attention or going through the media or direct sales.
Is it still about who you know?
Who you know helps a little bit, but no, it's not. It's really about creating interesting and valuable content for the web. It could be a YouTube video, it could be a great blog, it could be an interesting Twitter feed, but it's engaging people on the web with something that they find valuable. And if they find it valuable, then they're eager to consume more, maybe buy something from you, and they're also eager to share it with their friends, which is where the multiplier effect comes along. Post it on their Facebook page, or tweet about it, or blog about it, or even just send an email to their friend with a link.
So you say create content that people find valuable.
Yeah.
How do they find it?
Yeah, how do they find it? So multiple ways. They can find through search. They can find through the ways that you put it out through social networking. They can find it through other people who talk about it on their social networking sites. But it's a little bit different than those old rules that we've talked about, which is really relied on getting in front of people. The idea of interrupting somebody and getting them to pay attention to something is an old style of approach. I'm sitting there watching television, and then a commercial comes on. They're basically interrupting my stream of watching something that was interesting to me. You're at home, the phone rings, it's someone trying to sell something. A spam email message. All of those rely on interrupting people in what they were doing to get them to pay attention to something different. Right. The idea around the new rules of creating something that's valuable is I want to provide something that people will be eager to consume. It's not an interruption. It's not something that they find not interesting and not valuable. So the challenge is, the better it is, the more people share it. And it's true that we trust our friends.
Absolutely.
And, if I'm friends with you, Chris, and you post on Facebook that you're interested in this particular band, and I know you, I might check them out. And that's going to be a more valuable interaction than if that same band had purchased an ad somewhere to try to get someone to pay attention to that music.
Well, now it seems like it's bridging a little bit more, where not only you would find out that I like this band, but maybe you find out that I'm going to see them at the Independent this weekend, and maybe if we both go, we get a discount, or we check in and unlock some prize. Or
exactly,
like that.
Right. So now you're going to go there. Oh, geez, you're going. And this happened to me yesterday. So I had a spare ticket to the show I'm going to on Saturday, a band called Seven Walkers. And I went on to the Seven Walkers site, found a Facebook page, went to the Facebook page, said, hey, I'm really psyched to be going to the show. And Saturday night, a friend of mine noticed that. Her name is Nettie. Nettie said, hey, I'd really like to go. I go, well, I got a free ticket. I mean, it's a spare ticket. Would you like to go? I'll give it to you for free. And all of a sudden, I don't have to think about, I really want to bring someone with this ticket. I don't want to have to deal with trying to figure out which one of my friends to invite. And all of a sudden, she's going. And
there you go.
The band is psyched because someone else is going to be sitting in the room. And that's just interesting. And now when I'm at the show, I'm on Foursquare. Who else is here? Anyone I know?
Right.
And it becomes a really interesting way for people to engage and communicate. But those ideas, those sort of rules, if you will, of engagement are really quite different than what anyone who's older than, say, 25 grew up learning about.
Right. Well, so that brings us to sort of the marketing strategy for the Grateful Dead, which has since been adopted by a number of really successful bands, Fish, Widespread Panic, all these bands.
Radiohead did it too.
Radiohead. So the notion in the music industry that we're not going to prohibit people from taping. We're actually going to encourage them to, as long, and in fact, we're going to make sure that the recording levels and everything sounds really good, so that this becomes the engine to fuel our tour.
Right.
It blows my mind if the rest of the music industry adopted that mentality, how different things would be right now than they are.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that is, at the time when the Grateful Dead started in 1965 here in San Francisco, and people started to bring in their gear to record late 60s, early 70s, and they sort of sanctioned it a little bit after that, sort of mid-70s. And so imagine if everyone had done that. I think many times just being counterintuitive, just doing something different than everybody else, becomes a strategy. So I spent last week with this Japanese guy named Itoi-san, and he's one of the most popular bloggers in Japan. And he's got this blog that's read by hundreds of thousands of people. He's got 250,000 followers on Twitter or something like that. And he does something so interesting. What he does is he deletes his blog posts every day when he adds a new one. He has no archive of his blog. He's been writing the blog since 1994, or no, 1995, I think. No archive. Wow, that's interesting. It's like so counterintuitive. The Grateful Dead, everyone else said, no, you can't bring recording gear into the concert. The Grateful Dead said, sure. So what would have happened if everyone said you could bring the recording gear in? I don't know that the Grateful Dead would have been as successful, because they were one of the few bands that had all of these, at the time, cassette tapes in circulation, because they were the band that allowed it. Now imagine if every band allowed it. I'm not sure what that would have meant for the Dead. Whereas today, okay, well, what does everyone in the world believe is the only way to do something? And think about the opposite. And maybe that's the key to success. Like this guy Itoi-san, you know, the whole world thinks that Google search is important, therefore your archive is critically important to your business. I agree with that. I have an archive for my blog. I would never dream of deleting my archive.
Right.
But hey, it's not the only way.
So that technique seems to segue into your most recent book that you're releasing, which is Real Time.
It's called Real Time Marketing and PR.
So that's real time within a 24-hour
window. It's up to the second. What's fascinating to me there, my first job was on a bond trading desk in New York City. Dean Witter, I actually worked in the World Trade Center. And bond trading is about this second. And if news is breaking, if the prices are changing somewhere else, it's about this second. And what's fascinating to me is how marketing, doesn't matter whether it's about music or any product, marketing has not been about this second. Marketing has been about careful planning. You know, we're releasing an album in 6 months, let's plan for that release date, or whatever it doesn't matter what product it is, but it's that almost, and then they use war metaphors, the campaign, right? That's a war metaphor, the sort of campaign mentality. And I'm thinking, again, this counterintuitive idea, I'm thinking to myself, well, if the whole world is planning for the future, who the hell is thinking about right this second? And that becomes interesting, because you can draft your interesting stuff off of what's happening to the second. Do you remember when the Chilean miners came out of their hole? They were wearing Oakley sunglasses. Right? Oakley donated 33 pairs of sunglasses worth $180 each to the Chilean miners, and billions of people saw them.
Right. As they excavated down, GoPro mini cameras.
Oh, did GoPro do those?
Yeah, they got
I know
free
the guys who
marketing
ran GoPro. I didn't know that they did that. Right. So how interesting is it that you can find a problem that somebody's had, and you can go and draft off it? Or another one of my favorites is, do you remember in August, Paris Hilton got arrested for cocaine possessions in Las Vegas? So the Wynn hotels banned her. And then on that day, so from that moment on, every single story about Paris Hilton being banned for cocaine possession also included in the second or third paragraph that the Wynn Hotel's banned. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're what industry you're in or what product you're marketing. Can you think of a way to insert yourself into what the world's talking about right now?
Well, David Meerman Scott, you've done an excellent job of marketing your book to me. I think as a musician and as a startup, I'm going to go get a copy.
Excellent.
So thank you for stopping
Chris,
by.
great to meet you.
Likewise.